A librarian fleeing her abusive marriage boarded the wrong train and sat beside a mysterious man who turned out to be a famous musician. What happened next will restore your faith in love. Please, I promise I'll be more careful with the books. The ceramic mug exploded against the wall before Maya could finish her sentence. The hot coffee splashed everywhere as her husband Daniel's palm struck her cheek with a sharp crack that echoed through their cramped apartment. The bitter taste of blood filled her mouth as she stumbled backward, her hand instinctively flying to her burning face. "Mama!" A terrified voice cried out from the bedroom doorway. 8-year-old Emma stood frozen, still wearing her pajamas with little stars on them. Her favorite stuffed owl was clutched tightly against her chest, and her wide blue eyes filled with tears as she watched her mother being hurt again. Daniel's face twisted with rage as he turned toward the child. "Get back to your room right now," he snarled, his voice like broken glass. Emma's bottom lip quivered, but she quickly scurried back down the hallway. Maya heard her bedroom door close softly, followed by the heartbreaking sound of muffled crying. Maya pressed her palm against her throbbing cheek, staring at the man who had once read poetry to her under the stars. The man who used to call her his brilliant librarian and bring her rare books he'd found at estate sales. Now she barely recognized him. "Clean up this mess," Daniel muttered, stepping over the broken pieces. "I'm going to the bar." The front door slammed shut with such force that the walls shook, leaving Maya alone with the wreckage and the sound of Emma's quiet sobs echoing from down the hall. Maya dropped to her knees among the ceramic shards, her hands shaking as she began picking up the pieces. This wasn't supposed to be her life. She was supposed to be helping children discover the magic of reading, not teaching her own daughter to hide when Daddy got angry. That night, after Daniel stumbled home and passed out on the living room couch with an empty whiskey bottle beside him, Maya stood in the bathroom staring at her reflection. The fluorescent light buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows across her bruised face. She traced the purple mark along her jawline, remembering when this face had smiled freely. When she'd stood confidently in front of her story time groups at the library, bringing fairy tales to life for dozens of eager children. When Emma used to giggle instead of flinch. If she didn't leave tonight, she never would. Moving like a ghost through their small apartment, Maya gathered essentials with practiced silence. Years of walking on eggshells had taught her exactly which floorboards creaked and how to open drawers without making a sound. Into her old leather satchel went Emma's favorite clothes, her stuffed owl, Maya's grandmother's antique compass, and the small emergency fund she'd been hiding in a hollowed-out book. Her hands trembled as she folded Emma's tiny sweaters, each piece of clothing a reminder of the innocent life she was about to turn upside down. She crept into Emma's room where the little girl lay curled up like a kitten, thumb in her mouth, completely exhausted from crying. Maya gently shook her daughter's shoulder. "Sweetheart, wake up," she whispered. "We're going on a special adventure." Emma's eyes fluttered open, confusion clouding her sleepy features. "Where are we going, Mama? Is Daddy coming too?" Maya's throat tightened. "No, baby. Just you and me. We're going somewhere safe." Within 30 minutes, they were walking through the empty streets toward the train station, their footsteps echoing off the quiet buildings. Maya's heart pounded with each step, terrified that Daniel would wake up and discover they were gone. The station was nearly deserted at this hour. Harsh fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting long shadows across the worn tile floors. Maya approached the ticket window with trembling hands, Emma pressed close against her side. "I need 2 tickets on the next train leaving the city," she told the sleepy clerk behind the glass. "Seattle, Washington, departing in 20 minutes, the man replied without looking up. "Platform B." "That'll be $96. Maya's stomach dropped. She'd been planning to go to her sister's house in Portland, but she didn't have time to wait for the right train. Seattle would have to do. She counted out crumpled bills from her bag, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the money steady. The train was almost empty in the pre-dawn hours. Maya chose seats near the middle of the car, settling Emma by the window with her owl. As the train pulled away from the station with a gentle lurch, Maya finally allowed herself to breathe. "Mama, are we really running away?" Emma asked in a small voice, pressing her face against the cool glass. Maya wrapped her arm around her daughter, pulling her close. We're going towards something better, sweetheart. Sometimes that means leaving something behind. Hours passed as the landscape changed from urban sprawl to rolling farmland. Emma had fallen asleep against Maya's shoulder when the train made an unscheduled stop at a small rural station. All passengers need to disembark, the conductor announced. Mechanical issues. Buses will take you to Seattle. Maya's heart sank as she gathered their few belongings and gently woke Emma. They joined the line of irritated passengers waiting for the replacement buses. But when Maya reached the front of the line, the driver shook his head. Sorry, ma'am. This bus is full. You'll have to wait for the next one in 2 hours. Panic began to rise in Maya's chest. Every minute they stayed in one place increased the chance that Daniel would find them. She looked around desperately and spotted another bus with a different destination sign. Where is that bus going? She asked a nearby passenger. Portland, Oregon, the woman replied. Leaving in 5 minutes. Portland. Where her sister lived. Maybe this was meant to be. Maya grabbed Emma's hand and hurried toward the Portland bus. They found seats near the back just as the driver closed the doors. If stories of courage and new beginnings touch your heart like they do mine, please subscribe for more inspiring tales that remind us hope can be found in the most unexpected places. As the bus rumbled down the highway, Maya noticed that most of the seats were occupied. A businessman typed furiously on his laptop. An elderly couple shared a thermos of coffee. A young mother bounced a crying baby. And then there was the man across the aisle. He appeared to be in his mid-30s, with kind brown eyes and slightly messy dark hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it. He wore a simple gray hoodie and jeans, and a worn guitar case rested in the seat beside him. There was something peaceful about his presence, something that made Maya's constantly racing heart slow down just a little. When Emma dropped her owl in the aisle, the man leaned over to pick it up, offering it back with a gentle smile. Thank you, Maya whispered, accepting the stuffed animal. What's your owl's name? He asked Emma softly. Luna, Emma replied shyly. She helps me when I'm scared. The man nodded seriously. That's a very important job for an owl. I'm Jake, by the way. I'm Emma, and this is my mama, Maya. Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks as Jake's warm gaze met hers. She instinctively adjusted her scarf to better hide the fading bruise on her cheek. Are you traveling far? Jake asked gently, somehow sensing that prying questions wouldn't be welcome. We're starting over, Maya replied carefully. In Portland. Jake nodded with understanding. New beginnings can be scary, but they can also be beautiful. As the bus continued its journey through the mountains, Maya found herself gradually relaxing in Jake's presence. He had a calming energy about him, speaking quietly and never making sudden movements. When Emma grew restless, he entertained her with simple word games and told her stories about the different towns they passed. What do you do for work? Maya asked during one of their quiet conversations while Emma napped. I'm a musician, Jake replied. I write songs and perform them. Nothing too fancy, just small venues and coffee shops mostly. Maya's eyes lit up with interest. Emma loves music. I used to play piano before. She caught herself before saying too much. Before life got complicated? Jake finished gently. Maya nodded, blinking back sudden tears. I used to work at the children's library. I loved reading stories to the kids, seeing their faces light up when they discovered a new book. That sounds wonderful, Jake said sincerely. Libraries are magical places. Some of my best childhood memories are from the library in my hometown. What kind of music do you write? Maya asked, grateful for the change of subject. Jake's face grew thoughtful. Songs about hope, mostly. About people who've been through difficult times and found their way to something better. I guess I write for people who need to believe that tomorrow can be different from today. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. The world needs more of that kind of music. The world needs more librarians who care about children's imaginations too, Jake replied with a warm smile. When the bus finally pulled into Portland in the late afternoon, Maya felt a familiar mixture of relief and terror. She had no plan beyond getting away, no real idea of how to start over with nothing. Jake seemed to sense her anxiety as they gathered their belongings. "Maya," he said quietly, "I know we just met, but I perform at a community center here that also provides services for families in transition. If you need help getting connected with resources, I could make some calls." Maya's pride wanted to refuse, but one look at Emma's tired face made her nod gratefully. That would be really helpful." Jake made a phone call while they waited in the station. Within an hour, a warm woman named Patricia arrived to meet them. She had silver hair and laugh lines around her eyes, and she spoke to Emma in gentle tones that immediately put them both at ease. "We have a safe place for you and Emma to stay," Patricia explained as they walked to her car. "And tomorrow we'll talk about your options. There's no pressure, no timeline. You can take as long as you need to figure out your next steps." As they prepared to leave with Patricia, Jake handed Maya a business card. "I perform at the community center every Thursday night," he said. "If you'd like to bring Emma to hear some music sometime, we'd love to have you." Maya clutched the card like a lifeline, watching Jake disappear into the crowd before following Patricia to her car. The transitional housing facility was nothing like Maya had imagined. Instead of a cold, institutional building, Patricia led them to a converted Victorian house with a wraparound porch and flower gardens. Inside, children's artwork covered the walls, and the smell of homemade soup filled the air. "We have a room ready for you and Emma," Patricia explained. "And tomorrow, we'll introduce you to our services. We help with everything from legal support to job training to childcare. The goal is to help you build whatever life you want for yourself and your daughter." That night, as Emma slept peacefully in a real bed for the first time in months without the fear of angry voices waking her, Maya stood by the window looking out at the city lights. She pulled Jake's business card from her pocket and read it again. Jake Rodriguez, singer-songwriter. A week passed at the facility, and Maya began to feel human again. She helped in the library they had on site, reading stories to the children who lived there temporarily with their mothers. Emma made friends with the other kids and started smiling again, really smiling, not the careful, fearful smile she'd been giving for months. Maya finally worked up the courage to attend Jake's Thursday night performance. She and Emma slipped quietly into the back of the community center's small auditorium, where about 30 people sat in folding chairs listening to Jake play his guitar and sing. His voice was warm and honest, telling stories through his songs about resilience, hope, and second chances. When he noticed Maya and Emma in the audience, his face lit up with genuine joy, but he didn't call attention to them or make them feel uncomfortable. After his set, he approached them with 2 cups of hot chocolate from the refreshment table. "I'm so glad you came," he said, kneeling down to Emma's eye level. "What did you think of the music?" "It made me feel safe," Emma said simply, and Maya saw tears well up in Jake's eyes. Over coffee and cookies, Maya found herself opening up to Jake about her marriage, the abuse, and the fear that had consumed her life for so long. Jake listened without judgment, occasionally asking gentle questions but never pushing for more than she was ready to share. "I want to rebuild my life," Maya said finally. "I want to go back to work, to be around books and children again. But I don't know how to start over." Jake was quiet for a moment, then pulled out his phone. "I know the head librarian at the Portland Public Library," he said. "She mentioned they're looking for someone to run their children's programming. Would you be interested in talking to her?" Maya's heart raced with a mixture of hope and terror. "I haven't worked in a real library in over 2 years. What if I'm not good enough anymore?" "You are good enough," Jake said firmly. "I can see it in the way you talk about books, the way your whole face lights up when you describe story time. That passion doesn't just disappear." The interview took place the following week. Maya was nervous, but Jake offered to watch Emma, giving her one less thing to worry about. The Portland Public Library was everything Maya had dreamed of working in, bright, welcoming, with tall windows and cozy reading nooks scattered throughout. The head librarian, a woman named Rebecca, had kind eyes and spoke passionately about the importance of early childhood literacy. "Jake tells me you have a gift for bringing stories to life," Rebecca said after they'd talked for an hour. "Our current children's coordinator is retiring next month. We need someone who understands that working with kids isn't just about reading books, it's about opening doorways to imagination. Maya demonstrated her skills by conducting an impromptu story time with a small group of children who happened to be visiting the library. As she read, using different voices for each character and encouraging the kids to participate, years of suppressed joy flowed through her voice. Rebecca watched with a knowing smile. "When can you start?" Rebecca asked when Maya finished the story. Maya nearly cried with relief. "Whenever you need me. How about we start you part-time next week? We'll work around your schedule while you get settled." Over the following weeks, Maya threw herself into her work with a passion she'd forgotten she possessed. Rebecca was a supportive supervisor, helping Maya regain her confidence while encouraging her to develop new programming ideas. The other staff members welcomed her warmly, creating the positive work environment she'd always dreamed of. Emma thrived too, attending the after-school program at the library where Maya worked. She quickly made friends and rediscovered her love of reading, something that had been lost during the dark months when their home was filled with tension and fear. Jake became a regular part of their lives, performing at the library's family music nights and meeting Maya for coffee after her shifts. He never pushed for more than friendship, but Maya found herself looking forward to their conversations more than she cared to admit. One evening, after a particularly successful storytime event, Maya found Jake waiting for her outside the library with takeout containers from a nearby cafe. "I thought you might be hungry after working all day," he said with that warm smile that always made her heart skip. As they walked to a nearby park to eat their dinner, Maya couldn't help but marvel at how much her life had changed. "Jake," she said suddenly, "I need to tell you something." He stopped walking and turned to face her, concern flickering across his features. "What is it?" "When I got on that bus 2 months ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I was just surviving, running from one nightmare toward an uncertain future." Maya's voice grew stronger as she continued. "But meeting you, finding my passion for library work again, building a real home for Emma, you helped me realize I wasn't just surviving. I was becoming who I was always meant to be." Jake reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "Maya. I love you," she said simply. "I love your kindness, your music, the way you see the best in everyone. I love how you make Emma laugh and how you believed in my dreams even when I didn't believe in myself." Jake's eyes filled with tears as he pulled her closer. "I love you too," he whispered. "I've loved you since that first day on the bus when I saw you protecting Emma so fiercely, and I could see the strength in your eyes even though you were scared." 6 months later, Maya had saved enough money to move into a small apartment near Emma's school. It wasn't much, just 2 bedrooms and a cozy living room, but it was theirs, and it was filled with books, music, and laughter. Jake helped them move, along with Patricia and several friends from the library. As Maya unpacked her grandmother's compass, placing it on the mantelpiece, she felt the weight of infinite possibilities settling around her like a warm embrace. "Mama," Emma said that night as Maya tucked her into her new bed, "are we really home now?" Maya kissed her daughter's forehead, breathing in the sweet scent of her hair. "Yes, sweetheart. We're home." A year later, Maya was promoted to head of children's services at the library. She developed innovative programming that brought families from all over the city to their events. Her story times were legendary among local parents, and she'd started a support group for other women rebuilding their lives. Jake's music career had taken off too. His album of songs about hope and healing had gained national attention, and he'd been invited to perform at conferences about domestic violence awareness. He always credited Maya with inspiring his most meaningful work. One evening, as Maya finished organizing supplies for the next day's summer reading kickoff event, she found Jake waiting in the children's section with a picnic basket and his guitar. "What's this?" she asked, laughing as she wiped her hands on her apron. "Emma's having a sleepover at her friend's house," Jake said with a mysterious smile. "So I thought we could have our own adventure. There's something I want to show you." They drove to a scenic overlook outside the city, spreading a blanket on the grass as the sun began to set. Jake had packed sandwiches and strawberries, but Maya could barely concentrate on the food because of the nervous energy radiating from him. "Maya," he began, setting down his guitar and turning to face her completely. The day I met you on that bus, I was actually running away too. Maya's eyes widened with surprise. What do you mean? I'd just been through a really difficult breakup. I was questioning everything about my music, my purpose, whether I was making any difference in the world. Jake's voice grew stronger as he continued. Meeting you and Emma reminded me why I started writing songs in the first place, to help people believe that healing is possible, that love can grow even in the most broken places. He reached into the picnic basket and pulled out a small velvet box. I know it might seem too soon, he said, his voice shaking slightly, but I can't imagine my future without you and Emma in it. Will you marry me? Maya's answer was yes before he'd even finished asking. Their wedding took place the following spring in the library's main reading room, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and the people who had become their chosen family. Patricia and Rebecca helped with the planning. The women from Maya's support group brought flowers from their gardens. Local musicians who knew Jake performed during the ceremony. Emma served as both flower girl and ring bearer, wearing a dress Maya had sewn by hand and carrying Luna the owl as her good luck charm. When the officiant asked if anyone objected to the union, Emma stood up in her small white chair and announced, "This is the best day ever," making everyone laugh through their tears. Maya wore her grandmother's pearl necklace and a simple white dress she'd bought with her first bonus from the library. As she and Jake exchanged vows surrounded by books and the people who had helped them heal, she thought about the terrified woman who had boarded a bus with nothing but hope and a determination to protect her child. I promise to support your dreams, Jake said, his voice clear and strong, to create a home where Emma can grow up safe and loved, and to remind you every day that you are worthy of all the happiness in the world. Maya's voice shook with emotion as she made her own promises. I promise to trust in our love, to never forget how far we've come, and to build a life with you that honors both our struggles and our joy. When they kissed as husband and wife, Emma cheered so loudly that the entire wedding party burst into applause. 3 years later, Maya stood in the newly expanded children's section of the library, watching Jake set up for the weekly family music hour they now hosted together. Emma, now 11 and confident, helped arrange the small chairs in a circle while chatting excitedly about the story Maya was going to read that day. The walls were covered with artwork from the hundreds of children who had participated in their programs over the years. Photos showed families at literacy events, graduations from their adult education classes, and celebrations of the women who had completed Maya's support group program. Maya's first book, a collection of children's stories about courage and new beginnings, sat prominently displayed on the new releases shelf. The proceeds from book sales funded scholarships for single mothers returning to school. Sometimes I still can't believe this is real, Maya confided to Patricia, who had become like a mother to her and now served on the library's board of directors. Believe it, dear, Patricia replied, squeezing Maya's hand. You created this life with your courage and your heart. You deserve every bit of happiness you've found. That evening, as Maya locked up the library after another successful event, she found Jake and Emma waiting for her with hot chocolate and Emma's latest artwork. Look what I drew, Mama. Emma said, practically bouncing with excitement as she held up a colorful picture. The drawing showed 3 figures holding hands under a rainbow, a woman with books, a man with a guitar, and a little girl with an owl. Above them, in Emma's careful handwriting, were the words, "My family is made of love." As the 3 of them walked home together through the tree-lined streets of their neighborhood, Maya felt a peace she'd never thought possible. Her daughter was safe and thriving. Her work brought joy to countless families. Her husband was her best friend and greatest supporter. But more than any of that, she had found herself again, the woman who had been buried under years of fear and self-doubt, the storyteller who saw magic in everyday moments, the mother who could protect her child not just by running away from danger but by building something beautiful and strong. What are you thinking about, Mama? Emma asked, noticing Maya's thoughtful expression. Maya pulled her daughter close, looking down the street toward their cozy apartment filled with books, music, and laughter. I'm thinking about how sometimes taking the wrong bus leads you exactly where you need to go. Jake wrapped his arms around both of them, and they stood there for a moment in comfortable silence, 3 people who had found each other by chance and chosen to build a family through love. Years later, when Emma was grown and working as a children's therapist, she would often tell her young clients about her mother's courage. My mama taught me that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared, she would say. It means you choose to keep moving forward even when you are. And Maya, watching her daughter help other children heal from trauma, would remember that terrified woman boarding a bus in the pre-dawn darkness and feel nothing but gratitude for the journey that had brought them all home. If this story of courage, second chances, and unexpected love touched your heart, please take a moment to share it with someone who needs to be reminded that hope is always possible. Subscribe to Inspiring Stories for more tales that celebrate the strength of the human spirit and the power of love to heal even the deepest wounds. Because sometimes the most beautiful chapters of our lives begin when we find the courage to turn the page. New uplifting stories every week that prove love always finds a way home.